Thank you so much for supporting this project by watching the video. Despite having a lot of technical difficulties, I can tell you one thing, we didn't have the right equipment. We didn't even have proper lighting. Cena Live actually let us borrow one of their cameras. We made this video because we believe that everyone has a story of how God delivered them out of an obstacle they may have gotten over. So in this video, we will be sharing you the behind the scenes of how we decided to use certain aspects of the video that we made.
One important aspect we had in the video was the idea of painting. A picture where things just didn't make sense in the beginning. There were strokes of red and orange, and in the end, they just come together to form this beautiful masterpiece. There was a part where she talks about Christ and how she was reminded of his love. And that's the time when she takes out the paintbrush and paints her first stroke of white into the canvas. And some people may be like, hey, this doesn't make sense. Why are the painting scenes in between a testimony video? But it's to show how, often we're in this great cosmic conflict and things just don't make sense most of the time. And we're like, God, why is this happening to me? But in the end, when we look back, even though things don't make sense now, there will be a time when things finally do make sense. Another interesting thing we have placed into the video is that we put the painting aspect and the child aspect in the same room. And the reason why they look different is because we used two different colors. Like the child's part was a little more darker and more bluish and more gritty, while the painting part was more warm and almost felt like a Sunday morning because it was filmed on a Sunday morning. And the reason why we did this is to show how even though the child at the moment was placed in a situation where she felt demoralized and scared and afraid and she didn't know what to expect of her family anymore, she had no idea what God was working on in her life.
The whole texting thing is actually a story in and of itself, because in the very beginning, how she opened her phone and she saw this and she kept ignoring it. She didn't even reply. And then later on in the city, she kept getting her phone again and she still wasn't replying, up until later on where she started taking note. But that texting is actually a text from a friend. How God uses different people to reach out to that certain individual. He will use anything.
I know that part was random, where Min was like searching for clothes and like getting her clothes ready and putting on makeup. Like, why do we even put that, right? Well, the reason why we put that is to show how often we try to put up our best. We try to cover up most of the things that are in our hearts by showing the best version of ourselves, even though it's not true most of the time. The aspect of her getting ready and then stepping out into the world was to show how things that happened to her earlier had slowly pushed her into doing what she did.
First of all, the whole filming in DC thing was a headache because we didn't even know what time the people started coming out. We went there in the afternoon, but when we got there, no one was actually getting out of their office yet. But there was a band that was out there just performing. Maybe I could ask Min to look at her phone, see the text message that her friend texted her to her, and looking at the band, which represented, the world, all the things that she was leaving behind, all that excitement for something just better.
Like I had mentioned earlier, one of the most awesome scenes was the part where the child, Min, and the painting all comes together in the end, showing how even the hard time she had as a child ended up as a blessing to her. One thing I really like is the last part when the little Min, the mini Min, gets up, even with the darkness and the grittiness around her, and she just gives out this laugh. And then there's this sigh of relief, knowing that even though there are times when we just feel like this dark cloud is around us, we just need to trust Him completely, because He will take care of it.
We believe that everyone has a story to tell. So it was a really tough experience for us to film, but the Lord made it possible, and praise the Lord, we got the right content that we needed. So